Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun and dysfunction. So without further ado, first, the elephant in the room. Say hello, Stabby. This is your proof of life. They haven't seen you in a while, so wave at the crowd. Woo-hoo! She's not dead. Nick has not buried her in the backyard of his mountain.
So cute. You think he would kill me.
Concerned. All right, Nick, they were concerned.
Adorable.
All right, with that out of the way, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves, and we're going to go round robin styles rather than worrying about like the alphabet and stuff. So we're going to start with you, Melissa. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Hi, I'm Melissa McShane. I write lots of different kinds of fantasy novels, and I live in India, so I'm coming to you from the other side of the night from these guys.
She's actually speaking to you from the future.
This is the future.
This is the
future. The future is very bright. The sun is shining, and it's hot and humid already.
Well, I mean, that's good. I was afraid the sun would like burn out, but it's good to know it's still here tomorrow.
Sun's still here tomorrow. You can look forward to it rising on you in a few hours.
Perfect. All right. Next, we have Miss Magaidh Dunbroch. You're going to have to first tell us how to properly pronounce that because I'm sure I butchered it.
It's just Maggie.
Okay.
It's super, fancy. I'm a dark fantasy author. I twist Greek myths and do sci-fi romantasy as well. So yeah. Oh,
all right. What is romantasy? I've never heard that one before.
No? Oh my gosh. It's like a fantasy romance. So they there's some spice or no spice, slow burn leading up to it. So
if anyone's really into Fae and they've read A Court of Thorns and Roses, that's definitely a romantasy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We might have to do a panel on that as a topic so we can educate other Luddites like myself who didn't know this.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next we have Miss Hunter K Wallace.
Hello, I'm Hunter K, and well, so far, anything you can get from me is fantasy, but I like to put my toes in other things where they don't belong. It turns out I write romantasy because I tell people I write fantasy, and then they're like, I'm reading this. You actually writing romance in her too? I am! I love the feels.
Okay.
Nice.
I mean, I had my feelings surgically removed, but I mean, other people have them still. So, all right. Next, we have Miss Teri K. Jobe and the many voices thereof.
Oh yes, indeed. Teri K. Jobe, but first excited to meet someone else whose middle name is K. That's awesome. Audiobook narrator, author with works in progress in one anthology story that exists. It's real, I swear.
Wow, freaking standing. I like the cover of that one too, for that anthology.
Yeah, that's, all right, it's pretty snazzy.
It is. It's almost like someone knew what they were doing. It wasn't me. So, all right. Next we have Miss J.F. Posthumous.
I am J.F. Posthumous. I write fantasy, urban fantasy. I have begun dabbling into sci-fi, and yeah, that's really me.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. JE Pittman.
Hey everybody, JE Pittman. You can call me James. I write dark urban fantasy, action sci-fi, a little bit of horror. My main series, that guy over there, Felix Chance. So it's going to be fun to talk about Fae with you guys.
Oh, freaking thing. Stabby, it's been a while. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Hi, I'm Madam Stabby Stab. I'm married to that guy. I read a lot of books, but I mostly just keep the boys in check. That's my job, and to take really good show notes.
That is why her title is coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So obviously, you guys have all been. I like it. You guys have all been guests before, which makes the religion questions. We're going to go a little different, since obviously the title of this episode is all of the Fae Things. We're going to make that the theme for our religion questions. So we have, what is your favorite kind of Fae? Oh, hold on, Jenny. We'll put that up there. Show it. Outstanding. All right. So what is your favorite type of Fae, Melissa?
Type of Fae. Like, what do you mean by type of Fae? It seems like that could be a pretty broad question. So what are you thinking?
Whatever you want it to be. This is a broad question for a reason.
Okay. You want it to be a broad question, you need to be a broad question. My favorite type of Fae are the ones that are tricksters and not necessarily in a bad way. Like brownies are interesting because they'll come in and they'll do your housework and they just need a saucer of milk or whatever. But if you treat the Fae badly, then they either turn on you or they stop helping. And I kind of like the idea of these creatures that are so bound up by rules that defines them. That's one of the consistencies in all the different Fae stories, is that you can deal with the Fae if you know the rules. And so I kind of like the Fae that are maybe one thing, maybe another, that just interests me.
So basically, if you're dealing with a Fae, you need a good lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't be your own lawyer.
Goblin lawyers.
That's not good.
That sounds like it could be a book on its own, Goblin Lawyers. All right, Maggie, favorite kind of Fae?
I've always been partial to like elves, because I grew up reading Lord of the Rings. So I love elves, but also I am partial to the Dimlovi, which is a Russian, like Slavic Fae that actually cleans your house for you. And since I have 3 gremlins that trash mine repeatedly, I'd really like to just be able to put some food in my oven and have it clean my house in exchange for like some potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think that's just become my new favorite. I need this.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
so Maggie's actually was mine.
Oh, crap. Sorry.
In a more generalized term, it's a house spirit, and they're all over Europe. But I loved it because I had a chance writing one of my books to get to play with just these interesting little spirits that come and go and might be helpful, but it kind of depends on if you're being a booger with them or not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you
all I know is if you feed me vodka, I will clean your house.
Mm-hmm.
Hot or popcorn? What?
Vodka. You feed me vodka, which is made from potatoes. I will come clean your house. I'll probably fix your car or break it. I don't know.
Totally up for that.
I'm not saying it's going to be good. I'm just saying it'll be done.
Vodka in a little dish left out on the doorstep for you.
Yeah.
Get the neighborhood cats drunk.
Beer helmets, just right there.
To get the fun like bar, I'll do a lot for vodka too. All right, Miss Teri, before we go to full lush territory, favorite type of Fae?
Well, Maggie actually stole the other half. The other half of Maggie's answer is also mine. Elves.
Mm-hmm.
Dark elves, light elves. I don't really care. I just think they're cool. Because again, grew up reading Tolkien, listening to my dad read Tolkien. The BBC radio productions were amazing back in the 80s.
Mm.
So yeah, elves.
Okay. What about you, Jenny?
Well, I grew up reading fairy tales. So elves were a huge thing in fairy tales. I keep being teased about being an elf because my ears.
Mm-hmm.
My husband swears they were docked when I was a baby. So yeah. So, I've always loved elves, but I go more towards the darker elves. If you go Irish mythology, you have the Seelie, the Unseelie. I love the Unseelie court, the darker Fae, because you can do more with them. They have less scruples.
Okay. So I can dig it. All right. What about you, Mr. Pittman?
Well, I know better than to play favorites with the Fae, so I like all Fae equally. I tend to work more with the European Fae, like from Celtic mythology or Welsh, or anyone that really, I guess, Felix encounters and still talking to him, you know?
Okay. Stabby, favorite type of Fae?
All Fae life matters.
Okay.
So that's first and foremost. Secondly, if you're gonna love Fae, you gotta understand something when it comes to me. We all know I'm the dark and spooky one of the group. We've come to terms with this a long time ago. But in my family, they are very much Italian, and I am the only person that came out looking like the Irish side of the family. So I'm naturally blonde, light eyes, light skin. Everybody else is olive, brown hair, brown eyes. I was told my entire childhood that I was the changeling. So the fascination with changelings was always there for me. So I absolutely love books, movies, everything when it comes to changelings. I have to go and check them out every time. Like, let's see. It's better than being called the milkman's baby, though. So.
I mean, there are worse things for sure.
Absolutely.
Nick?
Yes.
Favorite type of Fae?
I'm going to have to go with the brownies. And I say that Willow was a big influence on me when I was a child. And that phrase still sticks in my head today. I stole that baby from that stupid Daikini while he was taking a pee-pee. And I was in love ever since.
Okay. That is valid. I know, I guess for me, I really like the series The Magician by Lev Grossman, which is basically a reimagining of Narnia, which is a little bit different. And they have in the later books a take on the Elven Queen, where she's basically like this diabolical person that tricks people into agreeing to things because they're desperate and they don't always think through, what comes next. So I kind of like that darker take on it, mostly because it's different than what you get with Tolkien. So I like that it was a little bit twisted. So that's my answer. All right, least favorite of the Fae. What about you, Miss Melissa?
Oh, I don't really have a least favorite, although I think it was Darby O'Gill and the Little People that had the Banshee, and that scared me when I was a child. So I have a lingering creepiness about Banshee, and Banshees are scary. And they're the ones that sit on your house and howl when somebody's about to die. So I don't remember the movie. My head is saying, yeah, it was Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and they had a Banshee, and it was scary. So yeah, that's mine. That's my least favorite.
Okay, that would definitely be a reason. What about you, Maggie?
I don't really have a least favorite one. I like them all equally. I'm not stupid. not saying you were. That came out so
No.
well.
I know what you mean.
So are you telling us there's one on the other side of the monitor judging you for what you're about to say?
Yeah.
Probably. I have no filter, so it's great.
That could be dangerous around the Fae, I'm told, because then you might agree to things.
Say something you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yep. It constantly gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
All right, Hunter. Least favorite.
We're gonna get really specific. We're gonna name call Tinkerbell.
Oh,
I've hated her since I was little, even though they have the cutesy little shows now. She's so sweet. Oh, she was not sweet.
No, she was not. No.
All right. Tell us on the doll where Tinkerbell hurt you.
Well, she worked for the Angel of Death, so I mean.
Maybe I just always related to Wendy, and Tinkerbell was like every bully out there.
Okay,
But
Nick,
hey,
do you want to
she
weigh
was
in?
nicer in the movie than in the book. I mean, in the book, she was like, "How can I kill Wendy this time? Rats, it didn't work."
Mm-hmm.
And those bullies in real life probably have a tattoo of her somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere.
Probably on their hip or lower back.
Okay.
Wait till
Very-
they're 80 and it's all gray and saggy.
Yeah.
Very specific. All right, Miss Teri K, least favorite.
You know, I think I'm gonna have to go with Leprechaun. And y'all in Boston, don't come at me. So when I was younger, you know, I lived in some open space and we got rain because it was Pennsylvania and it was damp. And there were a couple times when in that open field there was a rainbow that ended right there, and like there was never a pot of gold. Not ever. There wasn't even there may have been a dried up cow pie. That was it.
So
all I ever got from
There was a
rainbow.
pot of gold. You just weren't quick enough. Leprechauns are notoriously fast.
Fair enough. I was never known for my speed. Maybe that was it.
Me neither. I'm built for distance.
The Lucky Charms leprechaun was friendly. He gave us sugar. I mean cereal. I mean sugar.
I mean, that's true,
He
but
gave us
I also
diabetes.
never ate that kind of cereal. My parents didn't get it. We had Cheerios, and that was it.
So we got leprechauns who decided diabetes. All right.
Diabetes.
Yep.
All right. Jenny, least favorite.
I'm not sure I would have a least favorite because I always found them interesting in one way or another. You know, I've literally read almost this whole book, front to back, and you know, between the mythos behind them and you know their origins, they're fun.
Okay.
Of course, I always did like mythology. However, I have to agree, I hated Tinkerbell. Could not stand Tinkerbell. Could not. That said, guess what my daughter loved as a kid?
I'm going to guess it was Tinkerbell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
She liked Tinkerbell. And I'm like, why, child? Why?
so all of the show notes will include everyone's contact information. And if you want to know all the different academic books out there about the Fae in any variety, Jenny will know all of them because when I was doing some research, she's like, you need this book, this book, this book, and this book. And it was like 12 books deep. And we're not talking like actual, well, I guess technically it's fiction, but it was very academic and listing and encyclopedia-esque lists of all the different kinds of fantasy, everything, including magic. So
I like the subject.
she could be your librarian and lead you to poverty and the poorhouse, but you'll have books. So I
You'll
mean,
be
I guess, right? All right, James, are you brave enough to give us your least favorite Fae?
Currently, whoever just took a pot shot at Felix. So I'll be making some deals later, obviously. But as far as like representation in the media, I've never really liked the aquatic Fae type stuff, the sirens, the mermaid stuff. That's just never been my jam.
Okay.
I like the land-based ones.
Is there a reason that you didn't like it other than just wasn't your jam?
Just wasn't my jam. Like, I used to love all the Disney movies except The Little Mermaid. That was the one I would never actually sit through. I even sat through The Black Cauldron and all the other stuff.
Beautiful movie.
I just didn't get with The Little Mermaid.
So I had problems with The Little Mermaid too. The babysitter that my parents had watching my sisters and I when we were little before she was a housewife was a marine biologist. So she would go on and on about how if the Little Mermaid was truly from under the sea, she would have translucent skin because she didn't get enough sunlight and all the other micronutrients she wouldn't get, like vitamin C, because it was a thing. And so we just learned not to watch it because we did not want the lecture about everything biologically wrong with the mermaid.
What a buzz!
The magic was just killed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, Stabby, are you going to tell us your least favorite?
The Watchers.
Or what are they? I don't think I've heard of that one.
They're a type of fae that are similar to changelings, but they're known for staying in the woods and just watching humans and how they behave from in the tree line. And the idea of something sitting there watching me and watching me and watching me, and I can never see them, I think that's the creepiest thing ever. It's just the idea of something just sitting there watching you 24/7.
When you say the Watcher, my mind instantly goes to the organization in the Highlander series that like watches the immortals. But I mean, that sounds cool too. All right, Nick, are you gonna give us your least favorite?
I really don't have one. They're all kind of interesting in their own respect. I do like. We've been really getting into Irish horror lately on Shudder, and like 90% of their movies is based on the Fae. The Watchers is a pretty decent movie. So yeah, like they can be terrifying and they can be exciting to be around at the same time. I hate Tinkerbell. I think she's a gaslighting hoe. But
all right.
Now, on the same respect, that was the archetype of what I was dating in high school. So,
so what you're saying is we are not going to start the Tinkerbell fan club today.
In all fairness, he has to put up with some Tinkerbell at least once a year because being the blonde-haired, green-eyed only person in the family that looked like that, they all associated me with Tinkerbell. So we have Hallmark Tinkerbell ornaments going back to 1987.
Aww.
So.
Okay.
You get the outfit. It's on.
All right. Save that for the After Dark podcast. And then we're going to say, I don't think I have a least favorite, mostly because I don't know enough about the Fae and what counts. We were scrambling trying to get Jenny to give us and Jenny and Stabby, who's like our FBI research specialist. So if you send her hate mail, she will find you. But besides that, I don't know enough about what counts as Fae to know. So I don't have a favorite. All right. So since we mentioned that, why don't we see if we can define our terms? What is a Fae?
I saw a lot of cringed up faces of people that write about Fae. They're like,
well, you know, if we want to keep it, I guess, really simple, all encompassing, most of them are human like, but not human, and also magical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Human-esque.
Humanoid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Esque
Close
sounds
enough.
more fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Human-esque.
Yeah.
Do they all have wings?
Typical mythical being of legendary creature or generally described as anthropomorphic, found in folklore of multiple European cultures. A form of spirit, often with metaphysical, supernatural, and preternatural qualities. That comes from Wikipedia, and we know they are the guru of all things. They never get it wrong.
So hot.
Hey, unlike everyone else, Wikipedia cites its sources. Just saying.
It didn't used to. It does now, because I tried to use Wikipedia in college, and they're like, dude, there's no sources here. And I'm like, because it was from Wikipedia. I'm like, take my word for it, sir.
So when I was in college, they actually taught us that you shouldn't cite anything from the internet. So whenever we would find resources online, we would find out what it was. Like they would tell you it's from page 12 of this book. We would just cite 12 pages of this book and ignore the fact that we got that link from the internet and pretend like we had actually looked at the physical book because, you know, we're dinosaurs and they didn't like the internet back then.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you get a paper book for your research, they're going to look at you like you're nuts. What do you mean you didn't just go online? So, all right. Does anybody want to add anything to the definition?
Well, according to the book I have, in fairy lore with which we're dealing here, there are two main general uses. The first is a narrow, exact use of the word to express one species of those supernatural creatures of a middle nature between man and angels, as they were described in the 17th century, varying in size and powers and span of life and in moral attributes, but sharply differing from other species such as hobgoblins, monsters, hags, merpeople, and so on. The second is the more general extension of the word to cover that whole area of the supernatural, which is not claimed by angels, devils, or ghosts. So there you go.
Hmm.
So
There's
another
2 more definitions.
another tangent on that. I know in Wales, especially like in the Mabinogion, what they did, they classified local deities as fey creatures when the Christian wave came through, so they would not be actual deities, gods or goddesses. So there could only be one, the one god.
Mhm.
So they relegated them to folklore. That's kind of how they just kind of powered them down.
Got around it. Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things I like about
Sorry.
one of the things I like about the Fae contemporaneously for us is that you have so many authors who are writing about the Fae, and they're coming up with different ideas of what that means. And so they take all these different stories, and for their mythology, this is Fae, and for a different mythology, this is Fae. And so I kind of like the definition of Fae being whatever you can get away with within that, range. That there's, you can stretch it and maybe it's a little too far, but I like seeing what people are doing and calling it Fae. And and sometimes I think I think it might not work occasionally, but most of the time it does, because we've got this basic concept of this is what is Fae, and so I'm going to take boggarts and hobgoblins and brownies, and those are the Fae that I'm writing about, and that's Fae. And maybe I don't have any elves, but why would you not have elves? Because elves are great, but maybe you don't. So I like the definition of Fae now as whatever we can get away with. That it's all drawing on this older mythos, these older stories. I was cataloging stories from the Color Fairy books yesterday for reasons I won't get into, but those come from they were assembled in the early 1900s, but are drawing on stories from the 19th and 18th centuries. And what they determined, what they thought were Fae, is actually in many cases very different from the definitions we have. And yet it was they were still Fae. And so I guess that's the long answer to what I think the definition is, which is basically what we can do, what we can make sense.
The definition, whatever we can get away with, is a very Army definition, and we approve.
Okay.
And I'll just throw another one in there, coming at this from a different angle, going into the Dungeons and Dragons side of it, because you have a lot of races that have a Fae background, elves and changelings, and I think a few others do as well. So there's also that aspect, which likely draws from all these actual mythological
Actually,
sources.
They did. A lot of them they took from the mythos. Drow is actually from Germanic dark elves. You can actually Google. It takes a little bit, but you can find it on Wikipedia. They're Germanic dark elves, and Drow is how you pronounce. Is basically how the Germanic word is pronounced. And I actually took that word and used it to create the docile for our fantasy series.
Nice.
And if you, besides just bugging Jenny and emailing her for a list of her library, you can also look at Gary Gygax put out his appendix. I forget what it's officially called, where he listed a lot of the sources he uses as inspiration, and a lot of that's the classic literature too on the subject from somewhat of an academic standpoint, where they just kind of look at the beliefs and who believed what when. So if you're interested in that from a nerdy angle, that's another place you can go to. But are we agreed on the definition? Because if so, we're going to play that beautiful commercial, and then we're going to dive off the deep end of all things Fae. All right. Well, then we're going to air that beautiful bean footage.
What is taking the night? There's the lady lead, who comes from a secret island to live in the big city as the daughter of a mafia underboss. Add a vigilante who goes after the more unsavory bits of family business. He helps her out of a spot of trouble, From there, the stakes and the body count only go up. Taking the Night by J.F. Posthumous. Narrated by Teri K. Jobe. Available on Amazon.
I mean, I heard those people in that book were pretty weird, but I don't know. They're here, so we can ask them. Was it weird hearing your own commercial, Teri?
It was kind of cool, actually. I need a big time. Oh my god!
The first time we aired that commercial was right after we had an panel with you on it, and Stabby went a little nuts during the behind the scenes thing. She's like, I know that person. So, all right. So we'll start with, what is it about the Fae that makes so many people love it so much? I know the hard questions. Very vague.
They're fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mythical. You can the mythical, the magical, the otherworldly. You know, they're not human. They, who hasn't read a fairy tale? Who didn't hear them as a kid? Who didn't read them as a kid? You're taking those fairy tales and bringing them into an adult world. So you still get that, little bit of your childhood, but it's grown up.
Because human men don't have wings.
There's that too.
That too. Red Bull gives you wings. You didn't know that?
Red Bull gives you a heart attack.
That too.
Well, I think elves are particularly attractive to humans. The elves I'm writing about were inspired by Terry Pratchett's Lords and Ladies, in which the elves are there and they are terrifying. They're beautiful, they're glamorous, they're exciting, but it's all a lie. And I think when you turn that around and take it seriously and say, yes, they are beautiful, they are terrible, maybe they're a little different from us, that's very dramatic. Who wouldn't want to be an elf? They live forever. They're beautiful. They have magic. Why wouldn't you want to be an elf? And so I liked Terry Pratchett's take on it, where it's kind of a twist. He also has a very scary unicorn, and I borrowed that too for a different series. But
Nice.
yeah.
Don't worry. Most of the unicorn die, and then eventually there is just the last unicorn.
So I hear. Yeah. Yeah.
But the Red Bull in that doesn't have wings.
No, does not.
No.
Fun.
Mhm.
I'd also put out there that something really cool about the Fae is just how clever they are. And 9 times out of 10, they get away with whatever they're trying to do, whatever trick they're trying to play on us dumb humans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, wow, I wish I could pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but I really. Oh, do you want to go, Hunter?
Oh, either way.
I really like I grew up reading R.A. Salvatore and Elaine Cunningham, who do Forgotten Realms and D&D. And I really like the allure of, I'm going to say it wrong because my brain will not let me say it any other way else, is the Drow. And I like the, just how evil they are and that they don't feel bad about it. And when you're reading that, you root for those type of people. And even though in this world you're like, I might be a little bit of a psychopath if I were to act like that, it's totally okay in the books. And I really appreciate that because it feeds my, morally gray side.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You can be a priestess of the Spider Queen. We won't judge you.
No, I want to be a mage. or the Loth. Or yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to pick one and then roll for initiative.
It's not Loth.
I was gonna piggyback on oh goodness, I wrote it down, on the whole Legend of Drist series with the Drow.
Yeah.
They never, they don't describe him that much, but we all know he is hot, smoking hot, and he's got a cat.
Yes, he does.
But it's just
there's a series with a character called Lyral Bainray.
That's the one I was just talking about with Elaine Cunningham.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, the funny thing is, I don't even feel like I like elves, and I don't know D&D that well. but I really liked R.A. Salvatore's approach. I mean, he started writing his Legend of Dritz series. The first book that he wrote, as far as the physical real-world time, followed Wolfgar, a human in it. People didn't care about him. They were like, you're cool. We want your cool, like, mentor figure, though, the dark elf. And R.A. Salvatore's like, we're going to do it. We're going to change the emphasis because everyone just wants the dark elf. Let's be real.
Okay. So I think some of the reason Fae is popular now is because it feels like all the stories are played out, and so everyone's going back to the folklore again. It's popular as content to farm for all kinds of things, and I think it's because it's that root to your history, but it's also something that you don't see as often. Although, like I said, that's going to change as it keeps becoming more popular. But I think part of it is just it's new and different from what everyone else is doing. So that's just my opinion. You could tell me I'm wrong by emailing Stabby. So, all right. Do you think that the representation of how Fae are presented, do you think that changes? Do you think it's the same or it's too individualized?
I think there's a huge like representation out there because like I write specifically about like I twist Greek myths, so my Greek pantheon is actually Fae. Like they're traditional, pointy-eared, like they have a magic power that's just like theirs, and they're like my werewolves are Fae descendants that are like modeled after the Drow. And if you read like a friend of mine writes like the same type of Greek twisted fantasy, and all of hers are like elves from Lord of the Rings, like really prissy, really, you know, light-footed and everything, don't have a dark drop to them. And other people are writing demons into theirs, like tieflings and that. So I think it encompasses a lot. And then there's the monster people.
Okay. Pittman, you're being quiet. You want to join in? I know you're not normally this shy.
I'm just thinking about all of the trickster Fae that I incorporate, and you know, there's a wide, you know, just a wide mythos to draw from. You cannot do Fae like the same way twice. There are a lot of like tropey bits to it, but even beyond the pointy ears, the core of them is different. You can't duplicate Fae, so it's very rich ground to draw from, like when you're writing. I know mine, because my guy's main power is luck. He is a essentially deposed trickster god. Well, he's cheated the devil and charmed the Fae, and you know, it's hard to charm the Fae. They get spiteful about it sometimes. So that's just been a lot of fun to play with. So there's just a lot of rich, fertile ground to play in. So I think that's why it's become a huge resurgence right now. Because, you know, like I said, people are running out of story ideas a little bit, and why not go to the original stuff like we all grew up with the fairy tales, and just kind of spin it out however we so choose.
Okay. Does anyone have like a favorite like example of what they think was the best written Fae? Because if you're writing it, you're probably also reading it. So do you have like a favorite author that's doing that kind of stuff?
Magaidh Dunbroch.
Do you want a list?
Well, the confidence, I'm a little underwhelmed, Maggie. I think you need to be a little third. We will work on that. All right. We just need to get you some like fortune cookies to give you positive messages. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I'll work on that.
I'll be completely unbiased and I'll say JF Posthumous.
All right. Other than the panel,
All right, Patricia Briggs
Touche, sir.
she does them really good. She has two different popular series right now. Mercy Thompson and Alpha and Omega. Both of them include a lot of the Fae. She also has done the Hobbs Bargain, which is kind of a retelling of Beauty and the Beast with Fae, and she lists a lot of different Fae in that one. There are so many other authors and books out there, especially in the urban fantasy. You pick one up and it's going to include some sort of Fae. Whether it's elves or banshees or any other mystical creature. It's there is so many that you can choose from, and you can take any of them and mold it into what you want. And for the most part, it'll work because you have that little bit of mythos that doesn't, you can do a simple Google search on like hobgoblins, get the bases, and then run with it. Constantine, the TV show, had an episode with the Knockers in a mine, and I think it was West Virginia. And the villain ended up being a gypsy. That's what they used in the story. Don't blame me. And that's what the character called herself. And she used magic to bring the Knockers into the mine to do the deed.
Wait, we're not supposed to use gypsy anymore? I did not get
I don't
that.
know. I've heard yes, I've heard no. I don't know. I can only tell you what was used in the show.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, gypsy is an okay term to use.
Yay.
Okay.
But, there's just so many. And, you go into searching for Celtic mythology and, Celtic Fae, any of that, and you're going to get a really long list. And like I said, you can take it and mold it to however you want. There was a short story I read about a banshee, and she was going around basically killing people so she could, carry her child to term. It was kind of a very twisted story, but very interesting.
It's clever.
Yeah. And, there's so many different takes that you can do.
Teri, you had one in the chat if you wanted to say what you thought was a good series that had Fae in it.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of those looser definitions of Fae, but Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I finished that series not too long ago. And that has a very interesting take on magic and what's possible. And I don't think it's ever directly said that, oh, these are Fae creatures, but it's taking a lot of those like fairy tales and things that we're familiar with and completely turning them upside down and sideways and in a lot of different and interesting ways. So I thought that was a really good.
Would you say it's Fae adjacent? Since it's like they didn't come out and say that it was Fae, but it's like there's some parallels going on there.
Yeah, I would. There's definitely some beings in there that are really powerful that I would say are arch-Fae adjacent. So yes, that's a good term. I like that.
Yeah, let's keep using that. I like that.
You heard it here first, people. Mark your calendars. Just saying. Is this one? Go ahead.
Oh, a Fae book that I really liked recently was This Woven Kingdom by, I'm going to mess up the pronunciation, Tahara Mafi. Because loosely, if we consider Jinn Fae, it's from the perspective of a Jinn teenager who's trying to fit in sort of a Middle Eastern society, and it's also Cinderella.
That's cute.
It is cute.
I like that.
And, you have an excuse for fairy godmothers and magic because you have the Jinn.
I like it.
So are fairy godmothers, you would say that was Fae then because they are fairies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cinderella's just got a good one. I mean, everyone else has got the bad fairies.
Wait. So there are bad fairy godmothers that are not nice to their peoples?
I didn't say
Well,
fairy
Maleficent.
godmother, just fairies. I mean, she picked up a really good
Fairies in
godmother.
general are capricious.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at
you
Dresden's
watch-
fairy godmother.
If
Go
you
ahead,
watch
James.
the live act,
What about the
Thanks, Abby.
godmother in Shrek? The fairy
Oh.
godmother in Shrek? That was not a good one.
No, she was not.
All right. Well, Stabby, you first, and then James.
if you watch the live action of Maleficent, they talk about not just fairies, but all the different types of fairies, which included sprites and wood trolls and everything else. But Aurora talks about Maleficent as her fairy godmother through the whole movie.
Interesting. And that is the story of the wicked stepmother in Cinderella?
Sleeping
That's
No,
Beauty.
Sleeping
Sleeping
Beauty.
See? I told you we needed this panel. I had to learn some things. All right, James, you were about to say something.
I was going to say, talking about bad fairy godmothers, Dresden's fairy godmother, the Leanne, she very manipulative. I do really enjoy Butcher's portrayal of the fairy courts and the whole bringing that whole side of things into the urban fantasy genre. Another one I really liked going to TV was Once Upon a Time, way back in the day.
I remember
Especially
that.
Rumpelstiltskin's portrayal.
Oh yeah, he was.
He
Fantastic.
just kind of like towed all
Yeah.
grounds. He was a quintessential deal maker. He was on whoever's side paid him the best or gave him the
Yeah.
best deal. Yep. And if you had him on your side, you're pardon the pun, golden.
That actor was really good that played Rumpelstiltskin too.
Yes.
Yeah. You know who else was on?
What's that?
Stargate Universe.
Oh, you're right. He was. He was the
Really?
doctor. Another good one that had Fae in it was the 10th Kingdom. It was a miniseries that was on back in the day. It was a
I
good one.
remember that.
Yeah.
Hunter is nodding enthusiastically if you're only listeing.
I just remember the fish with the wedding ring at the end. That's why I'm into romantasy. They cut it open.
So, all right. So, do you think there's anything you can't do? I mean, obviously, as part of our definition, we said whatever you could get away with. Do you think there's any point where you've crossed the line too far and it's no longer Fae?
I think that's down to the reader. You know, I think the reader comes to it with a definition of here's what Fae is, and either you meet that definition or you do something to twist it and they want to go with you, or you do something to twist it and they're like, no, that's not what I imagine. That doesn't work for me.
If they break the rules. Yeah.
Yeah, if they break the rules. It's just not.
If they touch iron, if they do don't live up to their bargain, if they try to weasel out of deals or break their word or straight up lie to you, they're notorious for always telling the truth, whether or not you understand the words they are using as being the truth. That's up to you, and that's a fault on your part. Everything they do is above board. So if they break that, if they just go about, just lying willy-nilly or just there's certain behavior one expects of Fae, and if across the board, if they break that, then they're not Fae anymore. You don't get away with that.
So, okay, then let's talk about those rules. What are the rules that relate to Fae?
We don't have enough time for that, JR.
there's
Why does there have to be rules?
well,
I guess if you can come up with a reason why a rule doesn't apply and you can explain it, I can live with that. Like Stephanie Meyer got away with sparkly vampires because she said historically the sunlight clause of vampirism came later in history, so if you go far enough back. So if you can find a way to give us a valid reason, maybe we can run with some things.
Yeah, it depends on how far you're willing to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get away with that
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
I mean, romanticy. Sorry, back to that.
It's about knowing your audience.
They're
because-
hot enough. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah, which
I'm
is
with
why I
Hunter
say I
on
think
this
it
one.
comes to the author,
she's a-
to the reader. I think it comes down to what you can sell the reader. Like, okay, like the cold iron thing, does that mean a special kind of iron? Does it mean just iron in general? And I've seen it done several different ways, but in every case, they justified it. They
I've
made
used
it
it
make
as-
sense.
I've used it iron and blood, bound in blood.
Yeah, see, that's a great idea. I like that. So.
Volume 2, Felix Chance, Second Chance.
Not that he wants you to
Shameless
read
plug.
the book.
Just saying,
Okay.
that's what I got away with.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody? I mean, obviously, this is intentionally a broad panel because we can dig in more specifically going forward. But does anyone want to add anything before we start bringing this puppy to a close? All right. I feel like I need Jeopardy music while it's quiet.
Dude, I'm trying to figure out how to put a soundboard with StreamYard so I can hit those buttons. So not only the banner guy, but I'm doing the soundbite stuff. Once I figure that out, this show's entertainment value is going to go up exponentially.
Well, wait before you figure that out because we have to figure out what we're going to do for hosting
Right.
because StreamYard just like quadrupled the price. And so we have till our contract ends in December to find something that we're going to use in its place because it goes from $100 to $500 a year.
Jesus.
Oh, my Lord.
And right now I fund most of this just as I write it off generically on taxes as a marketing expense. It's a hobby that I'm justifying, but $500 is a lot harder to justify.
How does inflation affect digital space? This makes no sense.
I think what it comes down to is StreamYard's got really, really popular, and now they're trying to cash in and charge you more, and they don't realize what's really going to happen is people are going to find their competitors, and they're going to hurt themselves in the long run.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about StreamYards. We're here to talk about the Fae. So if nobody has anything else, then we'll start with this. Melissa, what Fae have you written? And then we'll wrap this up.
Okay. So my contemporary fantasy series, The Living Oracle, is a follow-on sequel series to a different one. In this series, the fairy universe, the fairy world, and they refer to it just as fairy, is a sort of parasite dimension that's attached itself to our world thousands of years ago. And it had the elves coming in and they were messing with humans, and the humans got tired of it and erected a barrier so that the elves couldn't come through. What they didn't know was that the barrier was slowly poisoning fairy and the elves, so that when the barrier opens 1,000 years after it was erected, the elves are back and they are pissed. So it is the story of the main character, who is the living oracle, and her family, and the humans who are fighting back against the elves. And I'm not going to lie, I had Prince Nuada from Hellboy 2 in mind for these elves, and they are scary looking. There's no way a human could ever be mistaken for an elf or versa. And I'm really enjoying it. So that third book is just out. So that's my series.
Okay. And what are you writing now, Melissa?
What I'm writing right now is the War Master series. I'm working on War Master 8. Don't know when this is going to drop, but War Master 5 should be out either soon or has just been released. And I'm really enjoying that series. It's coming to a close. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how it ends.
So you don't know yet. Interesting.
I know how it ends. I don't know whether it needs 9 or 10 books. There's like a gap in my knowledge of what comes next, but I know how the ending goes, and I'm working toward that.
Okay. And finally, how can listeners and viewers at home find you, Melissa? So they can talk to you?
My website is melissamcshanewrites.com. I'm working on changing it to just melissamcshane.com because I finally got that domain. You can find me on my website. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on X as @McShaneWrites. And I have an Amazon page. I'm on Goodreads. I'm all over the place.
All right, Miss Maggie. So first, what Fae have you written?
So I write elves, I write mermaids, pretty much anything human-esque I write. In my series right now, I focus on, I call them the Fae Things, which are gods, and they're over like mortals and elves and lesser beings, and they're actually gods concerning like the underworld and everything. So I stretch a little bit into like necromancy and things like that with my elven creatures.
Okay. And what are you writing now?
That series, I have my second and third books coming out to finish off my Secrets of the Thrundle series, which follows a morally gray moon goddess that turns people she dislikes into creatures while taking over her pantheon. And so it's got a lot of like my military experience in it. And really fun. It's like borderline romantasy, but like no spice, which it's sad, but it is what it is.
Okay. And how can listeners and viewers find you?
I'm everywhere books are sold. I have an Amazon page, Goodreads. Yeah, I also have an Etsy store if you want signed copies. It's all on my link tree on Instagram, author_Magaidh. You'll spell it wrong, _Dunbroch. So
that's why we link in the show notes, so you don't have to know how to spell it.
Perfect.
Just as long as you spell it right, JR.
Oh, I did. I checked 3 times just to make sure.
Okay.
So, all right, we're actually going to have to come back closer to Christmas and see if we need to do a Christmas elves and see how that fares in the general Fae, just so we can like have people want to burn us as heretics. But all right, Jenny, what Fae have you written?
I have written quite a few. You can find them in the Fae's Amulet, which is the first novel in the Lady of Death series. The main character is Catherine Wolfe, and she is a half Fae, half human necromancer tasked to find all sorts of world-ending artifacts before they can make the world go kaboom. The fourth novel in that series is currently with the publisher, so whenever he's able to get that through the pipeline, I'll let everyone know. And Teri over there will be narrating it. There are currently 3 in the series. I also have another urban fantasy that does not have Fae in it. That is the Nightshade series. And what I'm currently working on is doing edits for a total of 5 novels that will be going it'll be in a Kickstarter in January. And that's, my publisher jokes about them being space elves. So it fits. It really does fit.
Okay.
Anyways, that'll be in the middle of January around the 16th. So I will be posting more about that later. Also, you can find me on Facebook at author JF Posthumous and 3ravenspublishing.com. And you can find me on Amazon. I don't have a website because I do not have the time or spoons to put into a website. I am sorry.
Okay. All right. Miss Hunter K Wallace. So what Fae have you written?
Oh man, I not as much as you guys. I write about adventure farmers. Second book in my series of the Migratory Farmers series, Stitching Power, involves seamstresses that make deals with house spirits to bind them to themselves as familiars. And it just winds up being a lot of fun because people wind up with these lucky little animals accompanying them, helping them out with things, and sometimes causing more trouble than they're worth.
Okay. And
I got to have a big cat in there. So, I mean,
cool.
Fae big cat.
Very important.
What are you writing now?
Oh man, now I'm starting the 3rd book in the series, The Aluminum Ziggurat. It's going to feature So it is a romantasy. So it's going to feature a couple who accidentally get chained together, marriage, actual chain, that crazy thing, and a ghost goddess and the god of aluminum making. So it's going to be kind of a weird riot.
Okay. And if they want to
Sammy,
stop,
you want this, right?
yeah, I'm game. So how can listeners find you?
They can find me on Facebook. They can also go to hunterkwallace.com. I'm not on Twitter a whole lot, but you can find me at HunterKWalla1 on Twitter.
Okay, all of that will be linked in the show notes, people. So next we have Miss Teri K. Jobe. So first, have you written any Fae yet?
So I have written Fae for my D&D game. I have a whole side plot that my players are trying to slog through that it involves an unseelie queen trying to establish a new court. They don't know that yet. Oh, my husband's in that game. I shouldn't have said that too loud. What I'm working on right now is my first trilogy, which does have elves in it and a couple other fantastical races, which I don't want to spoil just yet. We'll wait till it comes out eventually.
Okay. And how can they find you on the Wild Wild interwebs? Spoilers,
I've got a brand spanking new Amazon page, Teri K. Jobe, and I'm most commonly found on Facebook, usually sharing memes that I liked and stole from other places.
I mean, stealing memes is just what we do here, so I appreciate it. How did all of the background
leave a share or leave a like? That's fine.
How did we go from yellow to red? Are you messing with me just because I'm colorblind, Nick?
Yeah. Next is green.
All right. So, James, first, have you written any Fae? Obviously, you said yes, but what have you written?
Oh, geez. So I was just thinking about it. Just about everything in Felix that isn't real is Fae. So I've got Snarky Tree Folk, the Fae are all spiteful. I've got Naughty I've used the Goblin, the Elves. I've got Leprechauns in some shape or form, Fae Princesses, Little Murder Hobo Goblins. He was fun. And
you had me at hobo.
Yeah, they're all spiteful, but they're not happy with Felix, but they started it, so it's on them.
Better not mess with my boy. Better not mess with my boy Felix.
I mean, they came after his girl, and stuff went sideways. So he got a little vengeance on him in the second book. And now I'm currently working on the third book, which is called Off Chance, because, well, like I said, they weren't too happy with him, so now they're coming for him. And that should hopefully be out by end of year. I'm also working on a supernatural. This one actually has no supernatural at all. It's just a suspense thriller. Go figure. And just a lot of stuff. And you can always find me on the interwebs at halfacrepond.com and over on the Facebook at JE Pittman Writes and all the other things. I have at least j.e.pittman parked, your Instagrams, your X, Twitter, whatever you call it, the threads, the blue sky, all that stuff. So that's where you can find me. That's what I'm working on. And this Fae, man, they get spiteful. And Felix is about to come down on me.
Well, just remind them that in the South we have this expression. It's just he just needed killing, and sometimes it's justified. So
Well, that's what Grandma's shotgun shells are for. They combine good old iron, rock salt, and a few special herbs.
Not to do it.
Wait. Do we have redneck Fae? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I need to know more about these redneck Fae. That's the trailer park or something. I don't know.
You live in Virginia, don't you? Like you should be just immersed in redneckness.
Yeah, but I haven't crossed streams of the redneck and the Fae.
But you have a banjo, right?
Absolutely, they would have a banjo.
Okay. Well, that's how
It's
he
a
calls
ukulele.
something.
Which is a
Not all of us in
banjo.
Virginia have banjos.
Some
areas.
It's like one
Hey,
out of
banjos are cool.
I'm doing banjos. I'm just saying.
Several banjo player friends.
All right, so Nick, have you actually put any Fae into your comic books?
There is a plan to put the Fae and some other mystical creatures into the Apogee universe. We just haven't got to that point yet. We're still building the story around the heroes, and then we'll start getting to the really weird shit. So, got to give it time, and there's like 3 of us, so it's gonna take a bit.
Okay, all right, and then so I would ask you what you're writing and all that stuff, but mostly you're just ignoring us. So, do you want to have any closing thoughts instead? We don't want to forget about you.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my ADHD got the best of me. I got distracted. No, we know I don't write. The dyslexia keeps that from happening. But I am currently reading book number 91 in the last 3 months.
Do you ever sleep? Is it like, do you listen to audiobooks while you're sleeping and count those, like osmosis reading?
No, I'm an insomniac, so I don't sleep a whole lot. I usually fall asleep between like 3 and 4 in the morning, wake up between 9 and 10 in the morning. You know, I don't sleep a whole lot. And then my handy dandy tablet follows me around the house. So, but I just started book number 91, like right before we came on. I postponed hair and nails to join you guys. But I was like, yeah, I'll put the book down for a minute and I'll just do my hair and nails tomorrow. I want to join the Fae one, but yeah, it's fun. I read a lot. So if you guys ever need somebody to just read your stuff, send it on over. Except, send it to me as a book, because if you send it to me as like in the chat, I'm gonna forget that it's there.
Okay, so
got all mine. It works.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So is it the coffee brand coffee keeping you awake? Is that why you're an insomniac? Because you're having so much you're not sleeping?
No, I quit drinking soda completely. Actually, it's cranberry juice in there, and
okay.
I only drank 2 cups of coffees today. So,
what kind of coffee are you drinking?
I have the bourbon flavored coffee with Toll House cookie coffee creamer.
Nice. Is it good?
It's so good.
I am on my last bag. I've got half a pound left of my s'mores. I wish I had bought more, but wallets are a thing, and mine was empty when I was done. So I'm going to have to move on because that was seasonal, unfortunately. But if you like the coffee, link is in the show notes. Discount code podcast Grunt, you get 10% off, and support American companies, which I think is kind of cool.
They do tea and cocoa too.
They do. I know Teri has tried the cocoa. I think you said, was it you who tried the hot chocolate?
I think
it's Jana.
No, I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
I tried the blueberry. That was it.
Okay. The blueberries tasted like blueberries.
It's my favorite.
You can find us on our link tree at linktr.ee linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things: the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTubes, the TikToks, and the Twitters. We have our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page where all the shenanigans happen. We have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. For professional purposes only, people, send all of the shenanigans to Madam Stabby Stab on her Instagram, Twitter, or email, which is conveniently linked in our link tree. Since the word link is in there, we thought that was kind of apropos. And finally, you can find our website. I used my big college word today. You can find us on our website, which is a bunch of Spotify googly gook. I hate that they redid our simple address, but if you go to the link tree and you click the website, for as little as 99 cents a month, you can help keep the lights on. And we appreciate your patronage. Every penny counts. Or you can support the show more directly at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment sections for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee until it puts Stabby to sleep, since it doesn't keep her awake. I don't know how that works, but we'll go for it. And with that, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. I appreciate all of you coming on today. I know it was like a full panel. We went full Brady Bunch, but it works. So you guys did really well not talking over each other. So thank you for coming on, all of you.
It was fun.
Thank you. It was great.
Yeah.
And with that,